Hey, this is Seth Peak Realty and Peak Painting in Atascadero, San Luis Obispo County. Once again, joined by Harry Bennett of Equity Reach Mortgage. What's going on?
Yeah. Oh man, thanks for having me on again. I always appreciate it. It's my birthday today, so it's a special episode.
Happy birthday!
Yeah. Look
I
at this.
didn't know that. We've been talking on offline for. You got
Dude,
balloons?
that's what I was trying to show you my balloons.
I thought you were trying to make us like a set design. You're like, I got some
Oh,
balloons for the
yeah,
for the
Harry the
show.
Clown coming through. No, that's so funny.
Happy birthday, man!
Yeah, thank you.
What are you like 29?
26.
Are you really?
No, I'm 30.
No,
I think I'm 33.
33. There you go. You never know nowadays. People
Dude,
don't
after
believe me.
30, I'm just like, let it go. Yeah.
Right on, man. Well, we're gonna jump on here today and a little bit free form topic. We figured we'd kind of talk about current deals that we're working on, how our businesses are doing, what the spring market's like in
Yeah.
our respective uh companies, and like
Yeah.
how the overall feeling is right now, you
I think
know.
that's a really good subject because it can allow others too who are not right now like in the process of buy a home. Maybe they're not pre-approved, maybe they're just on the sidelines still renting, they're not really sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think this would give a little bit of good perspective to those that are looking to buy maybe in the next month or so.
Mm-hmm.
And that right now, I mean, market's still really hot. I'm seeing over asks sometimes, depending on the neighborhood, right? But
Yeah.
or but it's a weird one because you could still get seller credits. Like
Mm-hmm.
you and Karen got your buyers an extreme huge seller credit, which was awesome. So it's a little bit of a mix,
Yeah. Well, it can
but it's
balance out,
competitive.
you over ask and then seller credit down. It just
Yeah.
depends on, where how the 17 days go or whatever your contingency period is.
Mm.
But I thought it was pretty we our paths have crossed on two deals recently, right? With the
Yeah.
two buyers. And then, last week I did a tour of a house for sale at a Atascadero, and come to find out it might be your client,
It might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know.
Without going too much detail, I thought that was
Yeah.
pretty interesting for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the house, and I mean, right now, I would say the market is definitely competitive. If you're putting in offers as a buyer, I always encourage the buyer, right, the client, and the realtor, is like, hey, let's all three get on a call and
Mm-hmm.
let's go over it because
Right.
sometimes what the buyer thinks is going to be the cash to close
Mm-hmm.
could be different depending on how that offer is structured. So you guys do a great job. We all get on the phone and then figure out what's the best cash to close scenario for the buyer, and what the best terms are.
Right. I mean, often when you're the buyer, all you think about is what your down payment is. You don't think about how much money you have to bring to closing too.
Yep, the closing
It's
costs.
it's a huge money out of pocket, especially when you're looking to renovate or do some basic upgrades like flooring and carpet. Flooring,
Yeah,
carpet, or painting is the basics. Nowadays, being that I'm also a painting contractor, I always tell people that are looking to buy, they're like, I'm very limited in my funds, but I need to upgrade, you know, a house that's like 1,000 square feet, a smaller house, to 1,800 square feet. If you're just doing a basic paint job, I mean, that's another 6 to 9 grand out of pocket for an interior paint job from a
wow.
reputable company. I mean, you
Yeah,
could you could get probably a better deal from more of a singular company, or a handyman service. But it's important to know that flooring and painting, you could already be up to 15 grand for a basic home.
yeah.
So having those things dialed in. But hopefully you can find a house that's somewhat turnkey, at least for a while.
Yeah. And I think that goes into like a good like discussion today is like turnkey, right? Versus not turnkey. Maybe there's a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more fixing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then, about the different loan programs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like FHA, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to really want that home to be turnkey,
Right.
right? If you go through FHA, loan, they don't want to see chipping paint. They don't want to see, screens falling off, doors missing or anything like that, broken windows. Conventional, they're okay with that.
Okay.
They're a lot more lenient
Right.
as far as their appraisal. I'm talking about appraisals for both sides. So
Sure.
conventional, they're going to be more lenient. FHA, they're going to be more strict.
So that kind of pops something into my head. So you say like chipping paint, because we've come across this before where it's like, yeah, this isn't going to fly. Same with like a VA loan, right? They need it to be livable from the start, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are there less requirements like a VA loan than an FHA in terms of like livability and turnkey?
They're going to be very similar. They're both government, backed loans. So they're going to be they basically they're going to want it to be as turnkey as possible. They don't want to see a bunch of outstanding issues that is not being resolved or not going to be completed before escrow.
Gotcha. And so like that doesn't include things like super super outdated like wallpaper and like
No,
lace drapes
that's
and
fine. Yeah. Yeah, if you have like wallpaper, that's not
yeah,
gonna. Yeah, it's nothing to do with like its appearance, like because
right.
cosmetically, it's just if there's like actual issues, like maybe the toilet is not installed and it's missing or broken,
Or the
you know,
septic's out of code maybe, or
that could be an issue. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I think it's important, definitely when you're looking to ask your realtor what inspections have been done. Um, I'm finding nowadays it seems like more and more people are getting the buyer inspection. The seller
seller
inspection.
inspections.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so I always recommend that too. We work with Harper Homes, Dylan Linnecamp, and we bring him every time we list, we bring him on. He does his normal home inspection. So we have it up front, like,
yeah,
hey, no
he's great.
surprises. Here you go.
Yeah.
And he also, doing something like a sewer scope is something he also does for another $100 to $200, depending on the home. Hope Dylan doesn't mind me quoting the price there, but somewhere in there.
Yeah, I
But
know, right? Yeah.
but
Quote me.
honestly, it's like, knowing how the sewer line is from the house to the septic or the house to the main sewer line in town
Mhm.
is huge.
Yeah. No, I
Especially,
agree.
because you can see rotted fascia board, you can see like all these other, superficial things that are wrong. A savvy homeowner can see their water heater's not strapped. That's like seems to be the biggest one, a strapped water heater.
Well, yeah, that's definitely going to be called out in the appraisal, right?
Right.
When they do the inspection, if it's not double strapped,
Yeah.
that's a immediate reinspection back out. It's another, adds another week and a half to your timeline.
Yeah. So having that as a buyer, asking for that up front if there is one available, or the pest report and whatnot.
Oh, for sure.
It's huge.
Yeah.
But as a lender, you guys are always waiting for the shoe to drop when like you're waiting for someone to have a surprise, like, oh, I have this other debt, or like I have this, or the house is not going to, appraise at the value,
Luckily, I mean, I've actually been seeing the values being supported by appraisals lately. I haven't really landed into an issue where it has not been supported.
right.
And that's because usually the realtor is doing a really good job too, like, hey, realistically, is this going to appraise or not?
Right.
There's common sense being played into it now more than ever. And I think buyers are more, a little more savvy as well. But as long as it's within that range that an appraiser can literally, justify the price.
Right.
It's not way over, like some people want to go way over and get all these seller credits to help offset it. If it's way over, it's going to be called out and it's not going to be supported.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's also
Because I mean, because some people have a tactic where it's like, hey, I'll give you your listing for 700, and maybe that's near the top of that neighborhood, right?
right.
And then you're gonna say, hey, I'll give you 725, and then that's the new sales price. But I want some seller credits. But just because that sounds functionally okay does not mean that that's okay, right? It doesn't mean that the value is really going to be there. It has to be supported still by an appraiser. So the appraiser has to come out there and make sure that the value is at 725. And if he or she doesn't think that it's 725 and it's 705, well, it goes back down to 705,
Right.
So the lender will only go off of the lesser of the two, the contract or the appraised value.
Right. Right. And it seems like we have such a scarcity in inventory that prices are pretty much stabilized in the last few months. We're not seeing any sort
Are you seeing price decreases or any under ask?
We're seeing, well, like if you go on the MLS right now and you look at like certain neighborhoods and certain towns and certain ages of homes, you'll see decreases of like 10 to 20,000, like from the time it was listed, but you're not seeing a lot of like major price reductions or price improvements.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, is that like for the ten to $20,000 under, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can use it as long as the value again is supported by an appraisal report and it's holding.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as the value is there, instead of taking off that $10,000 off the asking price, which is maybe $60, $65 a month,
Yeah.
that 10,000 could be helped to reduce your closing costs if you
Right.
ask for the seller credit.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like it's never a dull moment, you know. You guys have been busy at Equity Reach.
Yeah, it's been good last month for sure. May is definitely turning out to be a good month.
Mm-hmm.
April was kind of like starting to get the engines warmed up again. May
Yeah.
is looking good, June's looking good. So definitely a lot of folks out there that are, trying to, get a home and make the dream.
Yeah. Seems like we're on our end, we're basically tying up 3 or 4 escrows between a week ago and like the beginning of June.
Yeah, we had
And
two. We had two together, right?
yeah, we
And
did.
on the
Yeah.
same day, closed. Boom.
Same. Well, maybe 2 days, a day apart, maybe, but it was
Well,
close enough.
as far as funding,
Oh yeah,
we funded
true,
on the
true.
same day. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all I care about.
That's all you
Is
care
it's
about.
funded. Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
we're looking forward to another maybe one on Wednesday on our end, another sale in Paso, and then another one closing in Osos that's been a couple months out. And you know, it's just you never know how they're going to go. Some are longer, some are shorter, some are painless, some are full of struggle, but you get through and you get done. We're kind of like you. April was kind of ramping up to make these deals happen.
yeah.
One of these houses went on the market in end of February, and it's going to be closing in beginning of June. So that's a little bit of a longer stretch, but
Yeah,
it's been a good journey, you know.
yeah.
And I'm looking forward. Right now, we're in the middle of spring, right? So it's right now a lot of discussions with upcoming sellers. Definitely in looking for a handful of buyers too,
Yeah.
but some sellers that are still on the fence about if this is the year to sell. I'm telling people like 100%. The inventory's low. I
If
mean,
you,
if
yeah, if
you're
you're contemplating on selling right now, I mean, with as low inventory, that's why I keep telling everybody is like, look, because everyone's like, hey, is the market going to crash? Is it going to pull
Mhm.
back? We're kind of waiting for it to hold back. I've been talking to people since November that are looking for it to crash, and they thought it was going to happen in, February, March, April,
Mhm.
and it hasn't shown any weakness. Um, Now, if there was a lot of inventory out there, could it be a buyer's market? Maybe, right?
Mhm.
Maybe because of the rates and everything else. I mean, but that's the problem is that there is no inventory.
Mhm.
So you have just a couple little houses out there.
Like
And
there's 2 houses. Like a day or two ago, there was 2 houses for sale in Los Osos. Like one town. We have a client looking there, and we're like, man, you got like 1.2, and then like under 800. It's just like this. There's nothing. And
yeah,
so if people are looking, you're talking about people that are looking to sell and they're waiting and waiting and waiting. It's
I'm seeing more people like renting out.
renting.
No, not renting, but they're renting out their
Oh
house.
yeah, being
Yeah.
a landlord,
Yeah.
right?
That was an easy step into, investment,
Yeah,
right? To be an investor. So instead of them selling that house, they are exiting the property, going to rent out that home, and they're just purchasing another,
right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So now they're growing their wealth, they're
Uh-huh.
changing their whole generational step. So that's a big deal. Now they're making an extra $600-700 a month on that rental. And that's kind of why you're not seeing a lot of inventory, is because those low rates, I mean, they're
Low
one,
rates, but also hot. The rent is
and the rental market's hot.
yeah, 100%,
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, you can easily rent out a property, 3 bedroom, majority of the area for at least $2,800 a month
Oh
minimum.
yeah, 2,800 is probably a good call.
Yeah.
It's the same. How do people grow their portfolio? How do people get wealthy? Getting rich is one thing. Having a net worth of $1 million is kind of like the benchmark. And
When I get to your level someday.
no, I'm just saying, like, you talk about like just in general in the world, right?
Yeah.
But like people get rich and then they get wealthy by building their assets, right? And so
Yeah.
like using money to leverage against money, using your mortgage to leverage to get another mortgage, and then do it again and again and again and again. That's, I mean, that's how people build generational wealth. Is
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as long as you're buying the right things, right? Like if you're buying, Ferraris and
no, I'm talking about
helicopters.
like cash
Yeah, but
positive.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. But we can go down to the weeds. Maybe next time let's talk about building wealth through real estate, and maybe
I like that.
we'll continue the conversation. But we're starting to get into the weeds. It's been a good Tuesday.
Yeah.
Good Tuesday show, recorded on a Monday. That's a little secret there.
Yeah.
All right, Harry, man. Good to see you. I'll see you on the next one.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, bye.